Hey there, Cinemaster fans. Hope you're ready for some movie magic. Let's dive right in. Just think, what if you accidentally download an app that starts threatening your life? Something similar happens in our story today. The story begins in a city in America, where a group of college friends is enjoying a party at night. Some of them were sitting at a table playing cards. When it was Kate's turn, everyone noticed that she was engrossed in her phone. She was actually looking at an app called Countdown, which supposedly helps people stick to their diet plans. Hearing this, another girl also downloaded the app on her phone, but she accidentally downloaded another app with the same name. This app could tell the user how many years, months, or days they had left to live. Seeing this, all the friends decided to download the app together. Whoever had the least amount of time left would lose the game. Everyone agreed to this, but Courtney hesitated a little. However, at the insistence of one of her friends, she also downloaded the app. But then it was revealed that all her friends had several years of life left, while Courtney had only 3 hours. Seeing this, she became a bit scared, but her friends assured her that the app was nothing more than a joke. After the party ended, Courtney got into her boyfriend Evan's car, but she realized that Evan was completely drunk. She became afraid that the app's prediction might come true, so she decided to walk home instead. Seeing this, Evan angrily drove off in his car. Meanwhile, Courtney was walking alone in the dark when suddenly a man in a black coat started following her. At that moment, she received a notification from the app saying she had only 7 minutes left. Terrified, she rushed home, went to the bathroom, and turned off her phone. But the phone turned on by itself, and the app reopened. As soon as the countdown ended, someone suddenly pulled Courtney towards the roof and killed her, throwing her body into the bathtub. On the other hand, at the same moment, Evan's car crashed into a tree. Evan survived, but the seat where Courtney was supposed to sit was completely crushed. This convinced Evan that the app truly predicted the remaining time of a person's life. The story then shifts to a hospital where we see a nurse named Quinn. Suddenly, she notices that a patient has run away from his room. When Quinn finds him, she discovers him sitting in a locked room. This patient was none other than Courtney's boyfriend, Evan. Evan tells her that he is distressed because Courtney died exactly at the time predicted by the Countdown app. Quinn calms him down and takes him back to his room. But Evan reveals that, according to the app, he has only 19 hours left. Later, Quinn meets the hospital's head nurse, Amy, who informs her that Quinn's job is now permanent and throws a party for her. During the party, while everyone is eating cake, Quinn tells them about Evan's Countdown app. Some of her colleagues, including Dr. Sullivan, decide to download the app themselves. Dr. Sullivan is thrilled because the app predicts he will live until 90 years old. While everyone is celebrating, a man suddenly brings an unconscious woman to them. Dr. Sullivan and the nurses immediately give her an injection to revive her. Meanwhile, someone else downloads the app and sees that they have only 2 days left to live. Feeling uneasy, they go to their parents' house to gather some important documents. Alone in the room, they sense that someone is nearby. When they open the wardrobe to check, they find Quinn's younger sister Jordan and her boyfriend hiding there. Quinn tells them to leave, but Jordan refuses. After their mother's death, Quinn had distanced herself from Jordan, which made Jordan upset. Quinn tries to explain, but Jordan locks herself in the room. At that moment, their father, Charlie, arrives. Still grieving his wife's death, he plans to visit her grave the next day and invites Quinn to come along. The next day, Evan is still in the hospital, but his heart rate begins to spike as he has only 3 minutes left. He sneaks out of the hospital and receives a notification on his phone stating that he has violated the app's terms. Without thinking, he keeps running. On his way, he sees a strange man in a black outfit in a mirror. Suddenly, the mirror shatters, and Evan runs towards the emergency exit. But all the lights go out, so he uses his phone's flashlight and sees Courtney standing at the stairway door. Evan calls out to her, but when she turns around, he is horrified to see that Courtney has turned into a ghost. She attacks Evan, kills him, and throws his body from the roof. Sometime later, when Quinn arrives at the hospital, she learns about Evan's death. She starts to wonder if Evan died because of the Countdown app, which makes her even more scared. She picks up Evan's phone from his room, but it is locked. Now, she begins to fear that the same fate might await her, as the app predicts she has only 1 day left, and tomorrow she was supposed to visit her mother's grave with her father. Now she called her father, Charlie, and said that she wouldn't be able to go to the graveyard tomorrow. Then she received a message from the app saying that she had broken the rules. Actually, if anyone, after checking their remaining time on the app, changes their daily routine to save themselves, the app itself turns against them and tries to kill them. Anyway, she began working restlessly. Soon, Dr. Sullivan noticed that Quinn was quite anxious, so he tried to calm her down. And then, suddenly, he kissed Quinn. Quinn somehow pushed him away and went outside to Amy. She was about to tell Amy everything when Dr. Sullivan called Amy from behind. Quinn quickly finished her work for the day and returned home. Then she researched the Countdown app and found out what had happened to Courtney and Evan. However, many people believed that this story was fake. As soon as Quinn shut her laptop, Evan suddenly appeared as a ghost in front of her. Quinn was terribly scared and ran to turn on the room's light. At that moment, Evan disappeared, and she received another notification saying she had broken the rules again. She threw her phone on the ground, breaking its screen, but the timer still kept running. Now, she had only 1 day left. The next morning, she decided to buy a new phone from the store to get rid of the countdown app, but as soon as she turned on the new phone, the countdown app was already installed on it. The surprising thing was that there was no way to delete it from the phone. Quinn sat back in her car and saw through the mirror that a man dressed in black was standing behind the car. As soon as she turned around, he disappeared, and Quinn decided to leave the place. But suddenly, someone covered her mouth with their hands, and her car narrowly avoided crashing into another vehicle. The driver of the other car came out to argue with her, but a man from the phone store came out at that moment. He spoke on Quinn's behalf, asking if she was all right, and told her to leave the place. Somehow, he managed to send the other driver away and then introduced himself to Quinn as Matt. He had overheard Quinn's conversation in the phone store. Matt revealed that he too had downloaded the same app. After this, the two of them went to a bar and concluded that the deaths occurring at the times predicted by the app were no coincidence. Quinn believed that the figure she had been seeing might be the one taking everyone's lives. She then remembered a priest at the hospital and decided to meet him with Matt. The priest provided them with the name of a man who had the power to deal with such demonic spirits. As Matt and Quinn were on their way to meet him, Amy called Quinn for an urgent matter. Meanwhile, Matt went to the bathroom, and suddenly, someone tried to enter his stall. He saw that it was a girl's feet, so Matt told her to go away. When Matt came out to wash his hands, he heard the sound of the same girl crying. He saw her moving from one stall to another and finally bending down and disappearing suddenly. At that moment, the lights went out and a door opened. Suddenly, the same girl attacked Matt, and though he fought her off, she disappeared again. On the other hand, Amy took Quinn to the hospital's meeting room, where it was revealed that Dr. Sullivan had accused Quinn of trying to take advantage of him. This made Quinn furious, and she said that it was Sullivan who had forced himself on her, not the other way around. But no one believed her, so she stormed out in anger. She then went with Matt to meet a man named John, who was a very accomplished priest. John meditated and discovered that a demon named Ajin was behind all this. He then explained the story behind it. He said that many years ago, there was a prince who had been told by an astrologer the exact time of his death. After learning this, the prince began trying to cheat death, which awakened the demon Ojin, who ultimately took the prince's life. John suggested that the app might be a new form of the demon Ojin. Now, they had no choice but to hack the app. Quinn thought of the phone store owner, Derek, and went to him with Matt for help. Fortunately, Derek succeeded in hacking the app. Now, he had access to the timers of everyone using it and could extend their time as much as he wanted. Quinn asked him to extend her time, and at that moment, she also saw her sister's name. Derek extended the timers of Quinn, her sister, and Matt by 50 years. Finally, they were all very happy because they no longer faced any danger from Ozin. After this, Quinn and Matt reached Quinn's house together. Quinn asked Matt why he had downloaded the app. Matt explained that a few years ago his younger brother had died, and since then he had been afraid of death. When he learned about the app, he wanted to know how long he himself would live. Quinn then shared the story of her mother's death. One day, Quinn had gone to a party, and her mother came looking for her, but on the way, her car met with a terrible accident, and she died on the spot. Sharing their grief with each other made them both feel much lighter. A few hours later, Quinn suddenly felt that someone was approaching the room. She saw Matt's hand on her stomach, so she woke him up. But suddenly, the real Matt appeared in front of her at the door. The truth was that it was Ojin's hand on Quinn's body. Suddenly, Ojin launched a terrifying attack on Quinn. Matt immediately helped Quinn and somehow managed to save her. After this, they checked the phone and found that the app's counter had reset to its original state. Now, they had only a few hours left. Quinn began to worry about her sister, Jordan. So, she called Jordan. Over there, Jordan's phone was with her nanny. Jordan called to get her phone back and sneaked into the nanny's room to retrieve it. Suddenly, Ozan's hand grabbed her shoulder. When Jordan turned back, no one was there. She checked her phone and saw there was very little time left. Before she could call Quinn, the entire house's lights went out. Scared, Jordan hid under the bed and kept looking toward the door. Suddenly, she heard her deceased mother's voice, and at that moment, the bed above her moved on its own. Then, she saw her mother's ghost and, terrified, ran toward the door, where she collided with Quinn. Quinn was with Matt, and the three of them went to Father John's house. They told him about the app hacking attempt, which had failed, and that Ozan was still after their blood. They showed Father John the app's coding, and he noticed a line related to Ozan's curse. Seeing this, he was pleased, as he believed the curse could be broken. He devised a plan to trap Ozan in his own game. He said they needed to trick Ozan into believing that today was not their death day. John began preparing a ritual that could hold Ozan back for 1 second past the time of death. If they managed to save even one person for 1 second beyond their destined time, the curse would break, and they would have successfully cheated death. The four of them went to the basement and created a protective circle using salt mixed with paint. John believed Ozan couldn't cross this circle. Once everything was ready, they saw that Matt had only 2 minutes left. In moments, the lights went out, signaling Ozan's arrival to claim Matt. They all quickly got inside the circle and John prayed for divine help. Moments later, Ozan's true form appeared before them, but he couldn't enter the circle. Suddenly, a toy appeared in front of Matt, the same toy his younger brother had when he died. At that moment, Matt saw his brother in front of him and began moving toward him. But in the process, Matt stepped outside the protective circle. Ozan took advantage of this mistake, pounced on Matt, and dragged him away. Quinn immediately ran after them to save Matt. When she got outside, she saw Matt was completely fine. But suddenly, a speeding car hit her. Afterward, Jordan was injured, so Quinn gathered her remaining courage and took Jordan to the hospital. Meanwhile, a nurse working with Quinn approached her and said she believed Quinn about the Dr. Sullivan case. Quinn thanked her, and then she noticed Dr. Sullivan treating Jordan. A plan suddenly formed in her mind to end all the chaos at once. When Dr. Sullivan turned toward his office, Quinn followed him. She tried to seduce him, which made the doctor feel strange, as she had been avoiding him until now. Quinn explained that she was doing this to get her job back. She invited the doctor to a secluded hospital room, and he happily went there. While he was searching for Quinn, she stood with an iron rod in her hand. Taking her chance, Quinn struck the doctor with the rod, injuring him and knocking him to the ground. At this moment, Jordan also arrived, having followed Quinn. Jordan asked what she was doing. Quinn responded that if she killed the doctor before the predetermined time, the prophecy would be proven wrong. Meanwhile, Jordan received a message on her phone that she had only 2 minutes left to live. Time was slipping away, and Quinn continued to attack the doctor. However, the doctor managed to escape the room, and Quinn followed him. She struck him with the rod, causing him to fall. She took out the injection, but before she could administer it, Ozan used his power to push her away. Taking advantage of the situation, Sullivan fled. Quinn's hopes were shattered, but then she gathered several injections from a medicine box to save her sister. Meanwhile, Jordan, while trying to escape the hospital, ended up in the morgue. She saw she had about 1 minute left and broke down in tears. Suddenly, Ozan picked her up and slammed her against a window. Jordan tried to escape, but Ozan overpowered her. As her final moments approached, Quinn appeared in front of Ozan with an injection in her hand, ready to go to any lengths to save her sister. Only when Ozan came in front of her, taking the form of her mother to stop her. Seeing her mother in front of her, Quinn's heart filled up, but soon she realized that none of this was real. She injected herself and fell unconscious to the ground. At that moment, Ozan flew into the air to save her, but it was too late. At that very moment, Ozan's curse ended, and he turned to ashes and disappeared into the air. Meanwhile, Quinn fell to the ground again, and Jordan came to pick her up. Jordan noticed the medicine in Quinn's hand. She saw that the name of the medicine and the injection site were written on Quinn's arm. Jordan filled the syringe with the medicine and injected it at the correct spot. Within moments, Quinn regained consciousness, and Jordan hugged her tightly. Finally, Ozan's curse was over, and Quinn had saved her life. A few days after this incident, the two sisters went with their father to pay tribute at their mother's grave. But suddenly, Quinn received a notification on her phone that a new version of the Countdown app had been downloaded to her phone. Jordan asked her what happened, but before Quinn could say anything, Ozan's shadow, dressed in black, appeared behind her. This meant that the deadly game created by Ozan was not over yet. If it were possible, would you want to know the time of your death? Be sure to tell in the comments. See you in the next video.